All right, boys, welcome back to another video. Daily Broncos here. Today we're going to be going over the latest news of Devontae Adams. So Aaron Rodgers is not expected to return to the Jets, which means they'll probably end up cutting Adams. They could trade him, try to get a draft pick, but given his contract, I highly doubt they're going to be able to do that. And Jeremy Fowler reported that Adams is, in quotations, intrigued by the idea of returning to play in the West Coast. Now, the Broncos are in the AFC West, so you'd have to imagine they'll be in the mix. They're a playoff team, of course, coming off of a 10-win season. They've got a franchise stud quarterback in Bo Nix, an elite offensive line, an elite defensive line. So they're set in the trenches. They've got the quarterback. They just need more weapons, a better run game. That's really it. The secondary with Riley Moss and Patrick Surtain, PJ Lock, and those boys is great. I mean, literally, the weakness of Denver is just the skill positions and the running back. Now, I will say that overall, I do like Denver's receivers. I mean, don't get me wrong. Cortland Sutton, I think, is a stud. Devon Vele, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims Jr. got going later on in the year. I really as well like Jaleel McLaughlin, but there's just not enough. This is not a Super Bowl roster. In Denver, of course, they had the most dead cap money in football coming into last season. They were not expected to make the playoffs. Their over and under by Vegas was 5.5. They crushed that very early on in the season. So they had a great season. But now we're talking about winning a Super Bowl and not wasting Bo Nix's years, right? When you have him cheap, because he's going to go for a lot of money. So going and getting Devontae Adams, signing him after being cut, it's not going to be that expensive. And to me, it just gets Denver one step closer to winning a Super Bowl. So let's talk about it. So look at Adams, 1,063 yards, 5 consecutive seasons of 1,000 or more yards. He's a very QB friendly quarterback. Worked with Aiden O'Connell. Garner Minshew went for 1,600 yards, of course, in his first season with the Raiders with Derek Carr. So he's got the stats. He's uncoverable one-on-one. He's elite down in the red zone. He would thrive playing with the Broncos. It also would just open up things for everyone else and play action too. It's just a perfect fit. It literally couldn't be drawn up any better. And the fact he wants to go out west. Another thing to note is that if the Broncos don't get Adams, maybe he ends up going to the Raiders. And I know the Raiders don't seem like they're going to be that good, but they've got Pete Carroll. They've got the second most cap space. They've got the third best draft capital overall, according to what is it called? I don't know. PFF mock draft. I mean, they like grade the amount of picks they have in like the top 75 or whatever, and the Raiders are right up there, so they could end up being good. But the Chargers is the biggest thing here. I mean, nobody's really fearing the Raiders too much, but the Chargers are a team that Denver's definitely going to be keeping an eye on. They don't want Adams to go there and be with Lad McConkey because the Chargers already were difficult enough to beat, and if they get Adams, one of the best premier receivers in the league, it's going to be trouble too. The Chargers and the Broncos both have a lot of salary cap space, so they can make it work. But looking at Denver specifically, because this is a Broncos video, they're going to have 45 point about 2 million in cap space, effective cap. They're at 33, dead money 32. So that's why Denver wasn't able to obviously do a lot last year. That's why they brought on Bo Nix to get a rookie, because they didn't really have much of a choice. They didn't have a lot of money, but that's starting to open up. And now, I mean, again, Denver just, they have what it takes to win. As we saw, they matched up very well with the Chiefs. Fortunately, the second half got away from them against the Bills. But again, this was just like a house money type of season. But next year, it's going to be Super Bowl aspirations for Denver, and they're going to have to make some moves too in free agency. I will say though, like Devontae Adams, he's just the type of player who he wants to win. He's never won a Super Bowl. He's just fallen short time and time again. I think Denver would be good for him too, just to sort of, get out of like New York and like Las Vegas, just get to Denver. I mean, it's just strictly business here and play with Bo Nix. And of course, Sean Payton, one of the best play callers to ever do it, one of the best offensive minds in the game. And Denver, they get Devontae Adams. I mean, literally, it's gonna start raising a lot of eyebrows because I believe this team has what it takes to beat anyone in the AFC. And I'm excited about it too. They've already got everything in place here. Now it's just about filling out the rest of the pieces. I do think they should honestly get a better running back, and then upgrade the skill positions. Tight end is certainly going to be something they're going to have to look at. When you look at their tight ends like Adam Troutman, Lucas Kroll, Nate Atkins, that's just not going to cut it. It's not enough here. So that's going to be something that's a very good tight end draft. Maybe Denver will go there in the first round. Maybe they'll just continue to bolster their already elite defense. There's a lot of ways to go. But in terms of free agency, you have a chance to get a guy like Devontae Adams. You've got to be right on that. You never know where he's going to go. Like he could end up going to, for all we know, do I say it, Kansas City? I mean, maybe he ends up going to San Francisco, the Rams. I mean, I know they're NFC, but still, I mean, wherever Adams goes makes that team that much better. And we saw him late in the season just go, absolutely off. If you guys followed, he was playing with Aaron Rodgers, so they had a lot of chemistry. But I mean, just look at these games that he had, man. I'm gonna pull up his stats so you guys can see. I mean, look at this. So I don't know if it will show me game by game. I don't know if it will, guys, but I don't know. But it just was putting up. He was scoring touchdowns. He was getting 100-yard games. He opened up things for Garrett Wilson as well. I think he would do the same for a guy like a Cortland Sutton. And then Marvin Mims, of course, getting his speed involved in the offense. It's just going to be huge for this team. And, I do cover the Chargers. I cover obviously the Broncos here, Chiefs here and there, but I look at Denver and I truly do think that next season they're going to be one of the best teams in all of football, just because of how well they played in the second half. It's just they're just missing things, right? And they've got to be able to get that done and give Sean Payton more to work with in this offense to open up the playbook. But I think the biggest thing is it's not even really going to be just the skill positions. I think it's more so going to be running the football and just getting better at that. Because you look at the run blocking for the Broncos, it was top 10. Pass blocking, they were first. So if you have an elite run blocking offensive line, I don't know how you run the ball as inefficiently as Denver did. I mean, how many times did they have a 100-yard rusher last season? I don't think they did at all. Yeah, there wasn't a single running back that went for 100 plus yards in a game last season. Bo Nix led the team in rushing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're talking about 6 games last season of what, 18? Bo Nix led the team in rushing. Like, that's just not going to cut it. I know Jaden Daniels led the Commanders in rushing, and Lamar Jackson certainly didn't lead them in rushing, obviously, because of Derrick Henry, but he's capable of doing it. But it's just not a recipe to win football games. Philadelphia should be the blueprint for Denver to win a Super Bowl, which is just dominate up front, which the Broncos do. Like, they've got as good of an offensive line as it gets, as good of a defensive line as it gets, but they have to run the ball and they have to get a dynamic running back too. So the question is going to be free agent running backs. We'll get into that in a separate video, but free agent running backs 2025. Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. I mean, and Aaron Jones is interesting, but he's not like a bell cow type of running back. I mean, he's more of like a compliment back to me, at least in my opinion. You guys might disagree. Najee Harris is really, really interesting. I like that a lot, actually. Wow. I'm going to have to make a video on Najee going to the Broncos. I haven't seen anything linked to it, but I mean, yeah, Najee Harris and Devontae Adams. I mean, is that enough to put Denver over the top to win a Super Bowl? No, like, two guys isn't going to be able to change the world, but it certainly gets them closer. And they're not going to cost much as well. Like, I don't think Najee's going for that. He's not going to go for Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs type of money. He's definitely going to be a tier below that. So, yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on that. It's your boy, Daily Broncos. I'll be trying to post a lot more. I know I've taken some time off. I mean, the loss to the Bills hurt. I didn't expect Denver to win that game because the Bills were a 14-win team or whatever. But, yeah, I just took some time away. We're getting to free agency, though, and Denver is legit, man. I believe in this team. That's why I made a channel on that, man. This team is going to make a lot of noise the following season. I can't wait to. Bo Nix is special. I'm out.